Hey book lovers! Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into the best book of April 2025, and trust me, this one is an absolute must-read. Whether you're into gripping plots, unforgettable characters, or twists that'll leave you speechless, you won't want to miss this. I'll break down why this book stood out from the rest this month, and why it needs a spot on your shelf ASAP. Stick around till the end for a sneak peek at what's coming up next in May's picks. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your favorite April read in the comments. Tilt, a novel by Pattee. Print length, 240 pages. Publication date, March 25th, 2025. Set over the course of a single day, an electrifying debut novel from a powerful new literary voice, Vogue, following one woman's journey across a transformed city, carrying the weight of her past and a fervent hope for the future. Last night, you and I were safe. Last night, in another universe, your father and I stood fighting in the kitchen. Annie is 9 months pregnant and shopping for a crib at IKEA when a massive earthquake hits Portland, Oregon. With no way to reach her husband, no phone or money, and a city left in chaos, there's nothing to do but walk. Making her way across the wreckage of Portland, Annie experiences human desperation and kindness, strangers offering help, a riot at a grocery store, and an unlikely friendship with a young mother. As she walks, Annie reflects on her struggling marriage, her disappointing career, and her anxiety about having a baby. If she can just make it home, she's determined to change her life. A propulsive debut, Tilt is a primal scream of a novel about the disappointments and desires we all carry, and what each of us will do for the people we love. Twist, a novel by Colum McCann. Print length, 238 pages. Publication date, March 25th, 2025. International bestseller, an urgent and ingenious, the New York Times Book Review. Novel of rupture and repair in the digital age, delving into a hidden world deep under the ocean. From the New York Times best-selling author of A Pyragon and Let the Great World Spin. Everything gets fixed and we all stay broken. Anthony Fennell, an Irish journalist and playwright, is assigned to cover the underwater cables that carry the world's information. The sum of human existence, words, images, transactions, memes, voices, viruses, travels through the tiny fiber optic tubes. But sometimes the tubes break at an unfathomable depth. Fennell's journey brings him to the west coast of Africa, where he uncovers a story about the raw human labor behind the dazzling veneer of the technological world. He meets a fellow Irishman, John Conway, the chief of mission on a cable repair ship. The mysterious Conway is a skilled engineer and a freediver capable of reaching extraordinary depths. He is also in love with a South African actress, Zanille, who must leave to go on her own literary adventure to London. When the ship is sent up the coast to repair a series of major underwater breaks, both men learn that the very cables they seek to fix carry the news that may cause their lives to unravel. At sea, they are forced to confront the most elemental questions of life: love, absence, belonging, and the perils of our severed connections. Can we, in our fractured world, reweave ourselves out of the thin, broken threads of our pasts? Can the ruptured things awaken us from our despair? Resoundingly simple and turbulent at the same time, Twist is a meditation on the nature of narrative and truth from one of the great storytellers of our times. When We Ride, a novel by Ogle. Print length, 332 pages. Publication date, March 25th, 2025. Ogle explores bonds of loyalty and friendship and how they're tested by drugs and violence in this propulsive novel in verse. Diego Benavides works hard. His single mother encourages him to stay focused on school, on getting into college, on getting out of their crumbling neighborhood. That's why she gave him her car. Diego's best friend, Lawson, needs a ride because Lawson is dealing. As long as Diego's not carrying, not selling, it's cool. It's just weed. But when Lawson starts carrying powder and pills and worse, their friendship is tested and their lives are threatened. As the lines between dealer and driver blur, everything Diego has worked for is jeopardized, and he faces a deadly reckoning with the choices he and his best friend have made. Award-winning memoirist and poet Rex Ogle's searing first novel in verse is an unforgettable story of the power and price of loyalty. No More Tears: The Dark Secrets of Johnson & Johnson by Gardiner Harris. Print length: 453 pages. Publication date: April 8, 2025. An explosive, deeply reported exposé of Johnson & Johnson, one of America's oldest and most trusted pharmaceutical companies, from an award-winning investigative journalist. A page-turning drama that raises life-or-death questions about the world's largest healthcare conglomerate. Jonathan Eig, Pulitzer Prize, winning author of King, A Life. One day in 2004, Gardiner Harris, a pharmaceutical reporter for the New York Times, was early for a flight and sat down at an airport bar. He struck up a conversation with the woman on the bar stool next to him, who happened to be a drug sales rep for Johnson & Johnson. Her horrific story about unethical sales practices and the devastating impact they'd had on her family fundamentally changed the nature of how Harris would cover the company and the entire pharmaceutical industry for the Times. His subsequent investigations and ongoing research since that very first conversation led to this book, a blistering exposé of a trusted American institution and the largest healthcare conglomerate in the world. Harris takes us light years away from the company's image as the child-friendly baby company as he uncovers reams of evidence showing decades of deceitful and dangerous corporate practices that have threatened the lives of millions. He covers multiple disasters, lies and cover-ups regarding the link of Johnson's baby powder to cancer, the surprising dangers of Tylenol, a criminal campaign to sell antipsychotics that have cost countless lives, a popular drug used to support cancer patients that actually increases the risk that cancer tumors will grow, and deceptive marketing that accelerated opioid addictions through their product Duragesic, fentanyl, that rival even those of the Sacklers and Purdue Pharma. Filled with shocking and infuriating but utterly necessary revelations, No More Tears is a landmark work of investigative journalism that lays bare the deeply rooted corruption behind the image of babies bathing with a smile. Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Print length: 432 pages. Publication date: April 22nd, 2025. Two writers compete for the chance to tell the larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple of plot twists up her sleeve in this dazzling and sweeping novel from Emily Henry. Named a most anticipated book by the New York Times Bullet Operator, Rolling Stone Bullet Operator, People Bullet Operator, USA Today Bullet Operator, Harper's Bazaar Bullet Operator, Marie Claire Bullet Operator, E! Online Bullet Operator, The New York Post Bullet Operator, Bustle Bullet Operator, Reader's Digest Bullet Operator, BBC Bullet Operator, Pop Sugar Bullet Operator, She Reads Bullet Operator, Paste Bullet Operator, and more. Alice Scott is an eternal optimist still dreaming of her big writing break. Hayden Anderson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud. And they're both on balmy little Crescent Island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years, or at least to meet with the octogenarian who claims to be the Margaret Ives. Tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. When Margaret invites them both for a 1-month trial period, after which she'll choose the person who'll tell her story, there are 3 things keeping Alice's head in the game. 1. Alice genuinely likes people, which means people usually like Alice, and she has a whole month to win the legendary woman over. 2. She's ready for this job and the chance to impress her perennially unimpressed family with a serious publication. 3. Hayden Anderson, who should have no reason to be concerned about losing this book, is glowering at her in a shaken-to-the-core way that suggests he sees her as competition. But the problem is, Margaret is only giving each of them pieces of her story. Pieces they can't swap to put together because of an ironclad NDA and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. And it's becoming abundantly clear that their story, just like the tale Margaret's spinning, could be a mystery, tragedy, or love ballad, depending on who's telling it. Matriarch, a Memoir, by Tina Knowles. Print length, 432 pages. Publication date, April 22nd, 2025. A revealing personal life story like no other, enlightening, entertaining, surprising, empowering, and a testament to the world-making power of Black motherhood. "You are Celestine," she said. She squatted to push the hair off my face and pull leaves off my pajama legs. "Like my sister and my grandmother." And there, under the pecan tree, as she did countless times, that day my mother told me stories of the mothers and daughters that went before me. Tina Knowles, the mother of iconic singer-songwriters Beyonce Knowles Carter, Solange Knowles, and bonus daughter Kelly Rowland, is known the world over as a matriarch with a capital M, a determined, self-possessed, self-aware, and wise woman who raised and inspired some of the great artists of our time. But this story is about so much more than that. Matriarch begins with a precocious, if unruly, little girl growing up in 1950s Galveston, the youngest of 7. She is in love with her world, with extended family on every other porch and the sounds of Motown and the lapping beach always within earshot. But as the realities of race and the limitations of girlhood set in, she begins to dream of a more grandiose world. Her instincts and impulsive nature drive her far beyond the shores of Texas to discover the life awaiting her on the other side of childhood. That life's journey, through grief and tragedy, creative and romantic risks and turmoil, the nurturing of superstar offspring and of her own special gifts, is the remarkable story she shares with readers here. This is a page-turning chronicle of family love and heartbreak, of loss and perseverance, and of the kind of creativity, audacity, and will it takes for a girl from Galveston to change the world. It's one brilliant woman's intimate and revealing story, and a multi-generational family saga that carries within it the story of America and the wisdom that women pass on to one another, mothers to daughters, across generations. When the Going Was Good, An Editor's Adventures During the Last Golden Age of Magazines, by Graydon Carter. Print length, 432 pages. Publication date, March 25th, 2025. An instant New York Times bestseller. From the pages of Vanity Fair to the red carpets of Hollywood, editor Graydon Carter's memoir revives the glamorous heyday of print magazines when they were at the vanguard of American culture. When Graydon Carter was offered the editorship of Vanity Fair in 1992, he knew he faced an uphill battle, how to make the esteemed and long-established magazine his own. Not only was he confronted with a staff that he perceived to be loyal to the previous regime, but he arrived only a few years after launching Spy magazine, which gloried in skewering the celebrated and powerful, the very people Vanity Fair venerated. With curiosity, fearlessness, and a love of recent history and glamour that would come to define his storied career in magazines, Carter succeeded in endearing himself to his editors, contributors, and readers, as well as those who would grace the pages of Vanity Fair. He went on to run the magazine with overwhelming success for the next 2.5 decades, filled with colorful memories and intimate details. When the Going Was Good is Graydon Carter's lively recounting of how he made his mark as one of the most talented editors in the business. Moving to New York from Canada, he worked at Time, Life, The New York Observer, and Spy before catching the eye of Condé Nast chairman C. Newhouse, who pulled him in to run Vanity Fair. In Newhouse, he found an unwavering champion, a loyal proprietor who gave Carter the editorial and financial freedom to thrive. Annie Leibovitz's photographs would come to define the look of the magazine, as would the new establishment and annual Hollywood issues. Carter further planted a flag in Los Angeles with the legendary Vanity Fair Oscar party. With his inimitable voice and signature quip, he brings readers to lunches and dinners with the great and good of America, Britain, and Europe. He assembled one of the most formidable stables of writers and photographers under one roof, and here he recreates in real time the steps he took to ensure Vanity Fair cemented its place as the epicenter of art, culture, business, and politics. Even as digital media took hold, charming, candid, and brimming with stories, When the Going Was Good perfectly captures the last golden age of print magazines from the inside out. Heartwood, a Read with Jenna Pick a Novel, by Amity Gaige. Print length, 316 pages. Publication date, April 1st, 2025. A Read with Jenna Today Show Book Club Pick. You will open this book, and you will not stop reading. Jenna Bush Hager, a riveting wilderness suspense novel by a novelist at the height of her powers, Jennifer Egan, Pulitzer Prize, winning author of The Candy House. Heartwood takes you on a gripping journey as a search and rescue team race against time when an experienced hiker mysteriously disappears on the Appalachian Trail in Maine. In the heart of the Maine woods, an experienced Appalachian Trail hiker goes missing. She is 42-year-old Valerie Gillis, who has vanished 200 miles from her final destination. Alone in the wilderness, Valerie pours her thoughts into fractured, poetic letters to her mother as she battles the elements and struggles to keep hoping. At the heart of the investigation is Beverly, the determined Maine State Game warden tasked with finding Valerie, who leads the search on the ground. Meanwhile, Lena, a 76-year-old birdwatcher in a Connecticut retirement community, becomes an unexpected armchair detective. Roving between these compelling narratives, a puzzle emerges, intensifying the frantic search, as Valerie's disappearance may not be accidental. Heartwood is a gem of 1,000 facets, suspenseful, transporting, tender, and ultimately soul-mending. Megan Majumdar, New York Times best-selling author of A Burning, that tells the story of a lost hiker's odyssey and is a moving rendering of each character's interior journey. The mystery inspires larger questions about the many ways in which we get lost and how we are found. At its core, Heartwood is a redemptive novel, written with both enormous literary ambition and love. Fun for the Whole Family, a Novel, by Jennifer E. Smith. Print length, 355 pages. Publication date, April 8th, 2025. A breathtaking, joy-filled novel about the people we love, the secrets we keep, and the enduring power of family, from the best-selling author of The Unsinkable Greta James. The four Endicott siblings, Gemma, Connor, Roddy, and Jude, were once inseparable, a bond created by the absence of their dazzling, mercurial mother, who would return for a few weeks each summer to whisk them off on sprawling road trips around the country. Decades later, the unthinkable has happened. The Endicotts haven't spoken in years, until an out-of-the-blue text arrives from Jude, now a famous actress, summoning them to a small town in North Dakota. They're each at a crossroads. Gemma, who put her own ambitions aside to raise the others, now isn't sure if she wants to be a mother herself. Connor, a celebrated novelist, is floundering after his recent divorce and suffering from an epic case of writer's block. And Roddy, at the tail end of a professional soccer career, is dangerously close to losing his future husband for the chance at one last season. Jude is the only Endicott who seems to have it all together, but appearances can be deceiving. As the weekend unfolds and the siblings wrestle with their shared past and uncertain futures, they'll discover that Jude has been keeping 3 secrets, each of which could change everything. A captivating journey and an ode to forgiveness that takes readers across all 50 states. Fun for the whole family, brims with heart and resonates long after the final page. Where the Axe is Buried, a novel by Ray Nayler. Print length 338 pages. Publication date April 1st, 2025. All systems fail. All societies crumble. All worlds end. In the authoritarian Federation, there is a plot to assassinate and replace the president, a man who has downloaded his mind to a succession of new bodies to maintain his grip on power. Meanwhile, on the fringes of a Western Europe that has renounced human governance in favor of ostensibly more efficient, objective, and peaceful AI prime ministers, an experimental artificial mind is malfunctioning, threatening to set off a chain of events that may spell the end of the Western world. As the Federation and the West both start to crumble, Lilia, the brilliant scientist whose invention may be central to bringing down the seemingly immortal president, goes on the run, trying to break out from a near-impenetrable web of Federation surveillance. Her fate is bound up with a worldwide group of others fighting against the global status quo. Palmer, the man Lilia left behind in London, desperate to solve the mystery of her disappearance. Zoya, a veteran activist imprisoned in the taiga, whose book has inspired a revolutionary movement. Nikolai, the president's personal physician, who has been forced into more and more harrowing decisions as he navigates the Federation's palace politics, and Nerlin, the hapless parliamentary staffer whose attempt to save his republic goes terribly awry. And then there is Krotov, head of the Federation's security services, whose plots, agents, and assassins are everywhere. Following the success of his debut novel, The Mountain in the Sea, Ray Nayler launches readers into a thrilling near-future world of geopolitical espionage. A cybernetic novel of political intrigue, Where the Axe is Buried combines the story of a near-impossible revolutionary operation with a blistering indictment of the many forms of authoritarianism that suffocate human freedom. Bad Law by Ellie Mistel. Print length 253 pages. Publication date March 25th, 2025. In this New York Times bestseller, Ellie Mistel offers a brilliant takedown of 10 shocking pieces of legislation that continue to perpetuate hate, racial bias, injustice, and inequality today. An urgent yet hopeful read for our current political climate. Mistel is a grassroots legal superhero, and his superpower is the ability to explain to the masses in clear language the all-too-human forces at play behind the making of our laws. Michael Eric Dyson, New York Times best-selling author of Tears We Cannot Stop. In Bad Law, the New York Times best-selling author of Allow Me to Retort, a black guy's guide to the Constitution reimagines what our legal system, and society at large, could look like if we could move past legislation plagued by racism, misogyny, and corruption. Through accessible yet detailed prose and trenchant wit, Mistel argues that these egregiously awful laws, his Bill of Wrongs, continue to cause systematic and individual harm and should be repealed completely. By exposing the flawed foundations of the rules we live by, and through biting humor and insight, Bad Law offers a crisp, pertinent take on abortion and the Hyde Amendment, and the role federal funding, or lack thereof, has played in depriving women of necessary health and reproductive care. Immigration and illegal re-entry, and the illusions that have been sold to us regarding immigration policy, reform, and whiteness at large. Voter registration laws, and how the right to vote has become a moral issue, and ironically, anti-democratic. Gun control and the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, and the extreme yet obvious dangers of granting immunity to gun manufacturers. But as the man Samantha Bee calls irrepressible and righteously indignant, and Matt Levine of Bloomberg Opinion calls the funniest lawyer in America, points out, these laws do not come to us from on high. we write them, and we can and should unwrite them. In a fierce, funny, and wholly original takedown spanning all the hot-button topics in the country today, one of our most brilliant legal thinkers points the way to a saner tomorrow.